Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Street University, where we share knowledge and where our singular mission is transformation. That's what we're here to do, to transform your lives, to transform our lives together, to transform our various nations. At the last count, we realized that we're reaching about 30 something nations. Hey, let's transform it. Let's transform. Let transformation begin in those places. So I want to welcome everybody here. You're very, very welcome. We're gonna continue with what we've been talking about with on change. So I welcome you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be a very, very, very great time today. That I can promise you, because we're going to now make this whole change very, very personal. We're going very personal with this. So welcome, welcome. You're very, very welcome. Share with people. Remind everybody we're live. Okay, remind everybody we're live and we are about to have a fantastic, fantastic session. A fantastic session on managing change. It's going to reveal a lot of things to you. It's going to bring up a lot of things, but hey, that's how we do it. We have to press deep, so that we can take our lives forward. All right, so keep sharing, keep sharing, keep sharing. This is going to be great. Keep sharing. I am going to give a few minutes for us to just share and let people know we are here. This again, we are focusing on change. That's what we're talking about today. Change, because when we refuse to change, then we become victims, and that's very, 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 very dangerous. We become victims. I wrote a book some time ago with the title "Help, My Chocolate is Melting," and everybody wondered, where did you get such a title from? Well, I was watching a movie, and this guy was told to build a house, and the house was supposed to be built with chocolate. It was supposed to be a chocolate house. And he was building, the weather was cool when he was building it. And after a while, guess what happened? The weather became hot. What happened to the house? The chocolate house began to melt. And that's what happens. If conditions change and we do not change, then guess what happens? We become victims. So let's share. Let's get people on board. Let them know we have gone live. And we are about to have a super, super time today. All right. Let everybody know we have gone live. Share, 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 and get somebody on board. And those who are on board, let me know who's here. Who's here? You're very, very, very welcome. Let me know who's here. Let me know where you're operating from. It would be nice to have you. We're talking about becoming a champion of change. When the coronavirus hit, a lot of companies, a lot of people were swept away. It just didn't work for them anymore. Why didn't things work for them anymore? Because they were not adaptable. They were not flexible. And so when we talk about change, and I remember having sessions with a lot of people. I was having sessions with hello, Flora, how you doing? You are very, very welcome. You're very welcome. Very, very, very welcome. I remember having sessions with a lot of people, a lot of organizations before COVID broke. And, I had CEOs talking boldly about how we need to change. We need to be ready for change. We need to be ready for disruption. And they were saying all those things, and it looked like they really understood what they were talking about. But by the time COVID hit, they couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle it, and that is why it's important. Because whether you know it or not, life is a continuum of change. Hello, Dorcas. Very, very, very welcome, Dorcas. You're welcome. David, how you doing? Yes, keep winning. That's what we do here. Winning is our culture. We are strangers to defeat. We have a winning nature. We win all the time. That's what we do. We are winners by nature. We are strangers to defeat. We have this amazing habit of always colliding with destiny. Thank you, Dorcas. Thank you, Dorcas. So let's get people on board. David, get your crew. Flora, let's all get our crews to join us here today. You know, I was thinking about this. If I wrote something some time ago, and that is the simplest way to change your friends. Don't fight them, just change your thinking. Just hello, Colin, you're very welcome. Did you hear what I said? The simplest way to change your friends, don't fight them, change your thinking. Once you change your thinking, you will automatically change your friends. Because the people that hang around you, the people that interact with you all the time, what brings you together? Something brings you together. You can be on the same wavelength. You have things in common. But the minute you change your thinking and your life moves to another level, and that's why people would say, oh, come on. David is so arrogant now. We knew him. We knew him before he became a billionaire. You better say amen to that, David. We knew him before he became a billionaire. We used to hang out with him. We used to sit with him there and eat with him and drink with him and all that. Yeah, but David, the David that now is different from that David. You were friends with that David, but this David has a different reality of life. His realities are different. Oh, is somebody hearing me? Amen. That's true for Flora. Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen to that. And I've seen it over and over. People will say, we knew him. We knew him. Now he's so arrogant. It's not that he's arrogant. Oh, John, you have made my day. I changed my thinking and started practicing OQP, only quality people. Thank you, my bro. Thank you. Thank you. You know, so people will say, he's arrogant. It's not that he's arrogant. Is that his thinking has elevated him to a different reality. And if you are not operating on that reality, what will you have in common? You know, I keep saying, there was a time when maybe you are believing and praying for food and things like that. Then guess what? You move to another, at that level, you had friends. You will share common stories about how life is tough, how things were difficult today. You share your common stories. Then guess what happens? You move to another level and another level and another level, and that is no more your reality. So your friends now, your reality is about maybe property, about investments, and things like that. Now, the people that your reality was, how are we going to eat today? If they don't develop themselves, you won't have anything to talk about. I am saying all that to say this. The people you like, get them to hear the things you are hearing. Lest a time come, they will tell you you are arrogant. Hello, Esther, my evangelist. How you doing? You're very, very welcome. All right. So, guys, are we good to go? Let's get this started because we have so much to cover today. So much to cover. Now, think with me. You go to a function. There are a number of people standing around. It's a cocktail. And people are having drinks. The natural instinct, your natural instinct, when you get there, is you scan the crowd. Then you see someone you know. And you go to the person you know. Isn't that what happens? That's the natural instinct. That's what we do. Well, that's what most people would do. Why? Because we are naturally attracted to the familiar. And I alluded to this one of our sessions last week. We are naturally attracted to the familiar. So when you get there and you see all those people, you will naturally gravitate towards the table that has people you know. It's very rare you get in and everybody is a total stranger and there's someone you know on this table, maybe, and he's probably alone or with one or two people. It's very rare for you to come in and leave that person you know and go and sit with or stand with total strangers. Very, very rare. Okay? Why? Because we are drawn towards the familiar. Let me welcome those who have just come in. Sarah, you are very welcome. Elijah, you are welcome. Emelda, how are you? You are very, very welcome. You are precious. You are appreciated. Karibu. Okay? So, we are naturally drawn to the familiar. Let's look at another example. We go for a buffet, a dinner or whatever, and there is the section of things you have never seen before. Or the things that culturally you cannot accept. All right? You will stay with the rice or ugali that you understand. Why? Because human beings are naturally attracted to the familiar. There is a mentor of mine, multi-billionaire, and he told me, he's Nigerian, British and Nigerian. He told me he was doing some business in China with some of his business partners. These are billionaires. And so they want to give him a treat. They take him to one of the most expensive restaurants. Now listen, the table was full of all sorts of things. He said, but the one thing that caught his attention the most was that from one end of the table to another, there was a stuffed baked snake. A stuffed baked snake. So just the same way we bake fish, stuff it, or turkey or whatever, and they were all cutting it, and they were all eating, and they were all happy. Now, guess what? Do you think he touched it? No. Why? Human beings are naturally drawn to the familiar and avoid the unfamiliar. Then he told me another time they are taking him to another restaurant, again in China, and this is gross, so brace yourselves. What I'm about to tell you is gross. So get ready. So this guy, he said they're at the table. Then he sees somebody at the corner. They are leading in something. Then he realized it's a monkey. It's blindfolded, and they lead it to their table. It was a round table. There was a little hole in the center of the table. Oh, Vicky, guess what? This is even more gross. So brace yourself. There was a little hole in the center of the table. So when the monkey got there, they all clapped. They all clapped. Then there were some things. They strapped the hand of the monkey, and the head popped out of that little hole on the table. And there was this waiter with a sword, and in one swipe, he just cut off the head of the monkey. Part of the scalp of the monkey, a part of it, and they all clapped. And they were all taking pieces of the brain, dipping it in something and eating. Apparently, for them, monkey brain was a delicacy, and they brought their African billionaire friend to give him a treat. Do you think he touched it? Absolutely not. He said he was almost throwing up. But to them, I knew there was going to be reaction for that one, you know. But to those people, that was the familiar. Is somebody hearing me today? That was the fact. So human beings are naturally drawn to the familiar, and we avoid the unfamiliar. Now, these examples I gave, they play out in the physical, but the buttons are pushed from the subconscious realm. Our subconscious responds to things we are familiar with. Sometimes we don't even realize what is happening. And I have seen so many experiments where, without realizing, people are migrating to the familiar. You find yourself in a room with different people of different nationalities. You will most likely gravitate to the person who looks more like you. You know, when you're in a foreign land and there are not many people from your country there, and suddenly, like you are in a remote place and you hear someone speak your language, you get excited, you gravitate towards it, towards that person. I have seen people who are totally against each other at home. When they meet each other abroad, there is this camaraderie, because we may be different at home, but when we are here, you are the familiar. Oh, is somebody hearing me today? So there are too many examples. Familiarity is one of the greatest motivators of humanity. Familiarity is one of the greatest motivators. So listen, you pick a book. I'm just showing you places where you have been lured by familiarity without you knowing it. You go to the bookstore, you want to buy a book. Then you pick a book, you don't know the author. But when you get to the back of the book, you find people who have endorsed this book. Sorry, we have some. All right. People who have endorsed this book. And then you see an author that you have a lot of respect for. What happens? That becomes the trigger. That becomes the lure for you. Or you look at a book and say, you look at the cover of the book, like this is Wale's Mental Independence, from the author of The Billionaire Within. So you may not know Wale, but you've read The Billionaire Within. If that is from the author of The Billionaire Within, I want it. Can you see how familiarity is used every day as a motivator? I mean, I can pick any book here. Just give me a sec. Let me look for a book. I can pick here. Let's look at, this is From Third World to First by Lee Kuan Yew. Now, you may not know Lee Kuan Yew, but the foreword is written by Henry Kissinger. Okay? So, you know what? That, for many people in leadership, that does it. That, you know what? Henry Kissinger endorsed this book. Just wait. I mean, we can go on and on and on. I'm sure you get the drift. So the bait of familiarity is one of the greatest baits that has been used to lure human beings into something. You buy a new phone because someone you know has one. That creates the link of familiarity. The truth is, familiarity runs the world. It runs commerce. That's why advertisers would advertise a watch and put it on the wrist of Tiger Woods. That you are familiar with the achievements of Tiger Woods. So that becomes the lure. And that's what timeless brands, I've talked about this, like Rolex, have done for years. They just look for who is making waves in this season of life and put a Rolex on the wrist of the person. All right? So having understood now, I think I have proved the point that familiarity is something. Thank you, Elijah. I love your comment. To us, it is gross. To them, it is familiar. No, that's Elijah's comment concerning the monkey thing. So we're all on the same page. Now, so they will use familiarity to advertise things and all that. Now, there is a dark side of familiarity. And this is what now leads people to getting stuck. I talked about this when we were talking of the Abundant Mind episode, I think 21 or so, but I want to address it from a different angle here. This is how people get stuck. Some people have been broke all their lives. Okay? Broke all their lives. Now, and guess what? It is not that they don't have good jobs. But I'm going to show you something today. The subconscious always leads to the familiar. That's why you remember when we looked at the people who have won lottery, that 70% of people who win the lottery end up losing everything. 70%. And they end up being in a worse state than they were before winning it. You can look at some of the episodes in the past. I even gave you statistics of lottery winners. However, do you know those who had money before winning the lottery were able to sustain it. So the people who came from poverty to lottery, they were so familiar with poverty. They had established a great relationship with it. So when the abundance of the lottery came suddenly, it was unfamiliar territory. Their subconscious did not know what to do. And so even though they had all this money around them, their subconscious was always trying to get them back to the familiar. My friend, you need to go back to where the one you understand. Get them back to poverty, to being broke. This is the same reason why people will go from one abusive relationship to another. One abusive relationship to another. I know someone, actually a friend of mine. She is so intelligent. She is so beautiful, so gracious, graceful. But she has not been able to hold a relationship. Why? Because she started out with a guy who was a really nice guy, and then turned out not to be a nice guy. He was very abusive. And she went through such a period of abuse. Now, mental programming is always taking place, whether you know it or not. So you have to take control of the process by being selective. The entry points for programming are the eyes and ears, and it's your life. I know somebody, listen, who, lovely Christian lady, married this guy. Everybody gave God praise, thanked God. The guy was an angel, did things for the family of the bride and all that. Do you know, when he now started on her, there were days and he will beat her up, and eventually she was rescued from that relationship, and she said she wasn't going to get married again. Then a guy came who said he was a pastor, a fantastic guy. Guess what? She let down her guard and he became abusive again. Because of the nature of what Taiwo and I do, we get to hear a lot of these stories. A person that does not understand this law of familiarity, that human beings are naturally attracted to the familiar, whether consciously or unconsciously, will always be a victim. A victim. So when exposed to, say, abuse for long, that is programmed into their subconscious. It becomes what they are familiar with. And, you know, if there's a verse in the Bible, Hebrews 11:15, it says, if they had been mindful of the country from where they came out, they may have had opportunity to return. The Amplified Bible says if they were thinking of where they departed, they would have had a continuing opportunity to return. So listen, your mind creates the opportunities of your life. I'm going to say that again. Your mind creates the opportunities of your life. Your mind creates the opportunities of your life. I will say it one more time. Your mind creates the opportunities of your life. If they were mindful, they would have had opportunity to go back. So the question now, how do you know what you have been familiar with? Let me tell you, we've been having so many of these sessions, but I believe since we started, I think tonight is going to be one of the most important and one of the most liberating. Vicky, I was just about to answer that question you asked. How do you know what you have been familiar with? Because that's where your subconscious is always going to try to get you. Simple. Have a meeting with yourself and identify the patterns of your life. As always, you are going to have to be brutally honest with yourself. What are the patterns of your life? Those patterns reveal a window to what your subconscious has been up to. What are the patterns you can see? The great thing is that you have 100% control over the software and you can change the program. The problem I've seen with a lot of counseling advice on this matter, they address the fruit, not the root. They are addressing the effect, not the cause. True change must always start at the root. Then it will alter the fruit. Changing what you do, for instance, without changing why you do it, will not result in sustainable change. If you have been experiencing certain things in your life, it's not enough to try to stop it, what you are doing. You need to change your mindset about those things. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. You will argue that no, that's not what I'm thinking. But your life expresses what is going on inside you. I was in a situation where I was making so much money, but I was always broke. Is somebody hearing me? That's why I realized, let me tell you, you can earn $1 a day. You can earn $10,000 a day. It doesn't change anything. You can still be living from hand to mouth, earning $10,000 a day. And it's very simple. Do you need the next money that is coming before it arrives? It's an honest question. Do you need it? I'm going to be talking later on at 9 o'clock on the other channel, Wale Akemi Resource page. I'm going to be talking on, this is Abundant Mind, episode 24. And today, I'm on Abundant Mind, I'm going to be dealing with the mindset, you know, finances, prosperity, and all that. So you don't want to miss that. As a man thinks, so is he. So you may disagree. I may tell you, no, 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 no. I am, I have a wealthy mindset. I have this. Just wait. Let's look around. So I was making a lot of money. I was always broke. I was always owing. And that got me to a place where I had to pull the brakes, withdraw, and find out what is going on here. That means even though I was convinced I had a wealthy mindset, my subconscious was harboring something different. Something different. Listen, let me give you an example, talking about how to deal with some of these things. Maybe you've been experiencing certain things in your life. Like I said, it's not enough to try to stop it. Maybe you have a problem with smoking. Okay? Do you know the number of New Year resolutions I made that I will stop smoking? And by the end of the 1st of January, I was smoking again. And then I said, okay, you know what? Let's just leave it till next year. You know? So maybe you have a smoking problem. Now, you should know now, by saying you want to stop smoking will not do the trick. So you need to do a deep analysis, like an anatomy of the habit. And I began to ask, why do you smoke, Wale? When do you smoke? What are the triggers? What does smoking represent to you? Is somebody hearing me? This is so simple. It is so practical. So, and you need to understand, at the time I'm talking about, I had smoked for nearly 20 years. I'd smoked for nearly 20 years. This was the last thing in my mouth at night, the first thing in the morning. Pillowcases had holes, bed sheets had holes, shirts had holes. And I kept saying, I am not going to smoke again. But you know what? It was very, and you know what? Oh my God. I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. Oh God, take this habit. Sometimes you may have a miraculous intervention. I do understand that. But you know what? There are ways to go about it. So guess what? Why do you smoke? When do you smoke? Number one, I smoked because the first reason is very silly. It's what I've always done. So it was the familiar. When do I smoke? I smoke when I'm bored, when I'm restless, when I'm worried, when I've just finished eating. When, you understand? What are the triggers? Boredom, restlessness, maybe seeing somebody else light up. So what did smoking represent to me? It represented cool. It represented calming me. It represented relief. Now, when I did this, then I was now able to begin the process of change. First, what did smoking represent to me? I had to find an alternative that could create the same representation. And chewing gum became an alternative for me. Then I had to isolate the triggers. So anything that would get me stressed, anything that would get me bored, that would get me alone, began to do that. So when we are talking of I changed, do you know what happened? I was not just addressing, I'm going to stop smoking. I was dealing with all the enablers of the habit. So let's take this on. You identify a pattern of lack, no matter how much you make. Then let's do a deep dive. Let's do a deep dive into this. Okay, how does money come? What do you do with the money? Then what are your strongest beliefs about money? Now, you need to, let me tell you, this is your life. You need to do this as a serious project. Like I said, have a meeting with yourself. If you can take time, sit down, write out your beliefs about money. Go back. What are the earliest things you began to hear about money, about prosperity? What are your beliefs? What are the things that you grew up with? Remember, I said, I never memorized hymns. I was just around hymns, and I know so many hymns. So what was going on around you? Because for me, I discovered, listen, I was making money, but there was the feeling of, I don't deserve this. I don't belong, because I had heard it over and over and over and over. That, like I've always told you, I'm in a car with my mom. I say a lovely car. And she says, not everything that glitters is gold. You don't know how they got money to buy that car. So there was this thing that, hey, Wale, you don't ever want to be called a thief. So those were deep things. There was always the fear of losing it. Is somebody hearing? I'm being very brutally sincere with you right now, talking about myself. So you need to be sincere about yourself. I identified my beliefs about money. I identified my fears. When you sit down and you write all those things down, you actually need to do it as an assignment. Write it. You will be shocked at what you will discover about yourself. You'll be shocked. I realized somewhere in my subconscious, when I saw people with a lot of money, my mother's beliefs were playing out through me. So I may talk prosperity, but I was looking, where did they get it from? How did they get it? Behind every runaway breakthrough is an undetected crime. So I was making money, but my subconscious was always getting me back to the familiar, being broke. I hope you are getting this today. Some of you might say that, oh, I have good beliefs. You know, this has nothing to do with what you say. It has everything to do with what you think, because what happens outside you is an expression of what is happening inside you. Don't ever forget that. What happens outside you is an expression of what is happening inside you. I was so familiar with lack that, now listen, I don't know how I'm going to say this. Where is the vision for your life? Your vision, where is it coming from? Let me tell you what happened to me. Because I had made money, I had lost money, I am down, then there is a temptation to now set your vision from where you are. You're now setting your vision from your position, not your potential. Oh, is somebody hearing me? Listen, so I was down. And one day, now you have to understand, I had experienced a lot of prosperity, but I was down. The subconscious was always looking for the familiar, and the familiar was broke. So, guess what? Here I was down, and we had always stayed in houses that were big on their own grounds and all that. That was my vision always. But now I was down. I was staying in a very, very high density place where you hear the conversations happening next door. You smell what they are eating next door. I was staying there. And you know what? I was now launching my vision based on my position. I'd forgotten my potential. Thank God my adopted mother, late Mama Rosetta, she was there. She said, no, Pastor Wally, snap out of it. Snap out of it. This is not where you belong. And it was like my eyes opened. Don't take the bearing for your vision from your position. Take it from your potential. Or is somebody hearing me? Elijah, what you said is true. If we hear, and you see, the thing is that people preach, oh, rich man cannot enter the kingdom. But if we look at that scripture, when Jesus said that, his disciples panicked. That who then can be saved? Then Jesus clarified. He said, I'm talking about those who put their trust in riches. Those who put their trust in riches. But do you know the number of people that have heard that scripture misquoted? Rich man cannot enter heaven. And that's all they heard when they were growing. And you know what? That became the familiar. They want to enter the kingdom of heaven. They want to enter the kingdom. But you know what? They've heard rich men cannot enter. Rich man cannot enter. Rich man cannot enter. So how many of you have been in a place where the prosperity is in front of you like this? You are almost about to sign the deal. Almost about to sign the deal. Is somebody hearing me? You are almost about to. It's there. You've even given testimony. You are almost about to. At the very last minute, boom! Something changes. You know what? Subconscious say, are you mad? You, multi-million deal. What do you mean? My friend, go back to the familiar. So you are at the verge of it, and it doesn't show up. Unfortunately, I have heard of people saying we are breaking the spirit of nearly there or whatever. No, 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 no. It's your mindset. It is. This is the deliverance right now. This is it. Oh my God. So it's not what you say. It is that which is buried into your heart, in your subconscious, what you are thinking. Because what happens outside is an expression of what is happening inside. Change that happens from the outside is not sustainable, because it's like cutting the branches of a tree and leaving the root intact. True change must originate from the inside. From the inside. So remember, your life is running on an operating system or a software. How did it get programmed in the first place? You heard some things over and over and over, even when you listen to this, even when you were not listening, you were hearing. Even when you were not listening, you were hearing. So when I was not listening to the hymns, I was hearing. How many of you find yourself in a place in life where, like with my hymns, you know certain things, but you know you did not pay attention to it. You did not pay attention to it. You did not set out to listen. But it's there. How many of you are in a place where you are not listening to the news, but you hear what has been said? Maybe you are washing dishes somewhere and the news is going on. You are not listening. Maybe you have investment in XYZ bank, and then they say something about XYZ bank. You were not listening to the news, but you are hearing. The Bible says, where your treasure is, there will your heart be. So you are not listening, but you were hearing. The minute they mentioned XYZ bank, you say, hey, turn off that thing, turn off the TV. But you are not listening. There is a deception. Listen, there is a deception people have that the fact that you are not listening to it means you are not hearing it. How come there are so many things you're not listening to, but you're hearing and you can reproduce? So you got programmed through the things you allowed through your eyes and your ears. Continuous programming, continuous programming, continuous programming. Now, since we know how we got programmed, now we can consciously change those things. We now know what to do. So what do? Create a mental playlist that you can say to yourself over and over and over. You can even take your phone, record record and play it to yourself over and over. When you are sleeping, let it be playing. Because even if you are not listening, you are hearing. When you are sleeping, let it be playing. When you are waking, as often as you remember, begin to say those things over and over. Then surround yourself with images of where you want to be, whether on your screensaver, whether on, just surround yourself with those images and make sure you have a mental playlist. At the 9 o'clock session, when I'm talking about the abundant mind, now from the spiritual scripture angle, I'm going to even show you how to develop some of the things that I say for myself. So, and that is the most effective way to begin your reprogramming process. You were programmed by the things you heard. You will be reprogrammed by the things you are hearing. That's why being on this platform, I think, is very important. So you are hearing a different narrative. And as you begin to create these mental playlists over and over, maybe it's an abusive relationship. Maybe it's an abusive relationship. Do you know some people have gotten themselves to a point where, listen, they want this lovely relationship, but deep down, they are not sure if they deserve this great relationship. I hope somebody is hearing me today. And life will never reward you more than your mindset will permit. Never. So, what are you familiar with? That's where I started. What are you familiar with? You can change what you are familiar with. How? I began to say these things to myself over and over. As I began to say them, listen, I began to watch certain things. My children know if they want me to watch anything, they'll say, oh, there's this billionaire. I watch biographies. I watch the stories of greatness. What was I doing? I was hearing that, you know what? People can actually break through. I began to look at generational wealth. Now, so guess what? I had so much information. I looked in the Bible, like I will show you tonight, some things in the Bible about this. I began to look at it. You know what? Very soon, I began to change my soul. I was no more familiar with the lack, the fear of losing money, the fear of failing, because those were the things in my subconscious. Those are the things that were in my subconscious. The fear of failing, the fear. So I hope you are getting this. The fear of losing it. Where did the fear of losing it come from? Because, hey, I've never had it before. Nobody has it. Now, I hope you are getting this. So do your homework tonight. Do your homework, and as many of you as can make the 9 o'clock on Wale Akemi resource page, because the Abundant Mind episode 24, I'm going to deal with that. But do your audit right now. What are the patterns in your life that will reveal what the subconscious, the agenda of the subconscious mind? And once you identify those patterns, that's the first thing, identifying them. Once you've identified them, then listen to this over and over and over. All right? I hope you got this today. Did you get it? Let's create new things to be familiar with. Let's create new things. Let's create new things. All right? Don't be afraid of prosperity. Don't be afraid. All right? You deserve it. You deserve it. Don't be afraid. Those cycles, put an end to them. Create something new to be familiar with. All right? Don't forget what I said about smoking. Trying to stop the act. Let's attack the root. Abusive relationship. What are your beliefs about the relationship? Do you feel you deserve it? Deep down, is it something you, I hope I don't have an abusive relationship? Deep down, you now need to create a playlist. If you're a lady, I am a princess. I deserve to be treated like royalty. You need to create that playlist, because remember, you got here by the things you heard, even though you were not listening. So create that playlist. I am a princess. I am a wealthy princess. Oh yes, and I am treated with care. I am loved. Oh yes, I'm treated like royalty. Is somebody hearing me today? Let's change those playlists. Okay? End of the cycles, end of the circles, end of the patterns. God bless you all real good. Thank you for being here. It's my greatest honor to be able to serve you on these platforms. On Thursday, I will continue with Susan. We had sent you an email, Okay, Susan, you know what I'm going to do? Please, on Facebook, just send me your number. I'm going to have someone call you right away, because I saw your email and we had responded to your email. I actually responded to your email. But thank you for bringing it up here. All right, guys, it's a great honor to serve you on this platform. Lorraine, I didn't know you were here. How are you, my dearest friend? Sorry, it's been back to back to back to back to back. I know you had sent me a message, but sometimes when you're dealing with 12-hour days in different parts of the world, then That's why you didn't hear from me. So forgive me. All right, guys. See you at 9. Those of you who can make it, and I'd like to encourage all of you to make it. All right. I told you I believed that this session, and please, if you know anybody that is stuck, get them to watch this session. I believe of all the sessions I have done, this is one of the most crucial. All right. So please. Elijah, a WhatsApp group. I've not thought of that. Because I'm still trying to cope with 12 or 14-hour days right now. Oh, Lorraine, thank you. Please, guys, if you've not done Reimagine Yourself, what is it called? Yes, Reimagine Yourself. I told you that the 75% discount is going to expire at the end of this month. So if you want to participate in it, please reach out wale@thestreetuniversity.com and we'll get across to you so we can put you in. All right? Because, and you understand where I'm coming from. It's not wise to be running 12 or 14-hour days. So we're ending the discount and the program will go on, but it will now be, because it's a premium, our premium product. All right, so send a message and we'll get back to you. So guys, Wale is going to get ready for 9 o'clock. I look forward to seeing you all there. Keep winning. I appreciate all of you and God bless. Thank you. Bye.